Hello bookworms, it's Jade from Bedtime Bookworm and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to talk about series that I have decided to DNF. So I have about 10 series here that after reading the first, maybe the second book, I've decided that I'm no longer interested in continuing on in the series. Standard disclaimer here, these are my opinions, and if one of these series is one of your favorite series, I'm really sorry. There are a couple, maybe 3 on here that might be unpopular opinions, but again, these are my opinions, and if you love them, then you love them, and that's great, but these series are just not for me. So the first series I have decided not to continue on in is the Lorien Legacies. So the first book in this series is I Am Number 4. This is a science fiction about aliens that have come to Earth, and there's like another alien species that's trying to kill off the last remaining survivors of this one alien species that are hiding as humans here on Earth. I read this book because I really enjoyed the movie and I love sci-fi, thought I would really like it, but I actually really struggled with this one and I definitely won't be continuing on in the series. The second series I'm going to mention, I'm really nervous to even say because I know that this is an unpopular opinion, but I feel pretty strongly about this one. I don't think anyone's going to be able to convince me to continue on in the series. I know that a lot of people really love it and that is fine, but I do not like the series, and that is Throne of Glass. So I've read the first 2 books. I didn't hate the first book. I thought it was alright and I kind of enjoyed it, but then I read the second book and I hated the second book. I gave it 2 stars, I think. It was really disappointing. I have talked it out with a few other friends that have read more of the series, and the things that are starting to bother me are things that I don't think are going to go away. For those of you who don't know, I don't know how you don't know, but Throne of Glass is a YA fantasy by Sarah J. Maas, and it's widely popular. It has a huge following. It's about Selena, who in the first book she competes in this competition to become the king's assassin, and the story kind of goes from there. I definitely have a lot of issues with the first 2 books that I read. I really hated the second book and some of the things that happened in it, and I don't like Selena, which I think a lot of people can say that they don't like Selena, so I'm not alone in that. But anyways, I know that there are other characters later in the series that people will say are worth it, but I'm pretty set on not continuing that series. So there's one unpopular opinion. The next series I will not be continuing is Magonia by Maria Dahvana. I read the first book, which is called Magonia, a couple years ago probably by now. While I really enjoyed the idea behind the story, which it's kind of a urban fantasy, or there's like a fantasy world that's hidden within our world sort of setting, but it's about these people who are like bird people and they live in ships in the sky. It sounds really cool and interesting, right? Well, the idea was really interesting. I didn't feel it was very well executed, and I could not stand the writing style. And even though I think this is only a duology, I will not be reading the second book in this series. So 4th on my list is another probably unpopular opinion. I've only read the first book in the series, but another series that I will not be continuing in is the Fallen Kingdom series by Rhodes. This is a YA fantasy series. It's often pitched as the Game of Thrones for YA, which I totally understand where they're coming from with that. There is a lot of violence and like death and some court intrigue and things along those lines that I do see the comparison to Game of Thrones, but to me, compared to Game of Thrones, this does not stand up at all. I didn't find the characters nearly as interesting as the characters in Game of Thrones. The only word I can think to explain it is like it just felt a little more immature to me, which, I mean, it is a YA, but I also felt like there was a lot of killing and murder in this book that was just unnecessary and didn't make sense. It felt like the killing was there just for like the shock factor and so that they could say that it was like Game of Thrones. And even though I liked Rhodes' writing style, I did not enjoy Fallen Kingdoms at all. It definitely disappointed me, and I don't have any desire to continue on in the series. The 5th series that I'm going to talk about is also kind of an unpopular opinion. I mean, I think this series has a few more mixed reviews out there than Fallen Kingdoms or Throne of Glass, but I will also not be continuing in the Diviners series. The Diviners is by Libba Bray and is a historical fiction paranormal. It's set back in like the 20s era. I don't remember the main character's name, but basically when she touches objects, she like has premonitions or sees things. It's been a while since I read it, but I listened to this on audiobook, which I had been told was the better way to read this book because the the audiobook was really good. But I actually had a really hard time with the audiobook. It's also very long, and I read it in October because it's supposed to be spooky, and it was not spooky to me. I just thought it was weird. I don't know. I did not enjoy reading the Diviners. I found the main character to be really annoying. There is still a lot of unexplained things after the end of the first book that I was sort of interested in, but not interested in enough to continue on in the series. Another series I will not be continuing in is the Snow Like Ashes series. I read the first book in the series. It was just okay. Like, there wasn't anything that I really hated about it, but I didn't really love it either. I found the main character to be really frustrating. Like, I liked the world building and the idea behind the world. So this is a fantasy, and in this world there are certain like lands that are stuck in permanent seasons, and so that idea of a certain country always being winter was a cool idea, and I really liked that. But the main character was one of those characters who was invincible and was good at everything, and she always found a way out of these impossible situations, and that just absolutely drove me nuts, and I really didn't enjoy it. I do know that the author wrote this book when she was like 16, which is super awesome, but I also feel like I could tell that she was 16 when she wrote it. And I mean, maybe the other books get better, but I'm not interested enough to continue in the series. Another series I won't be continuing in is the Neverland Wars by Audrey Greathouse. I was provided an art copy of the first book from Audrey herself, and while I enjoyed it okay, I didn't love it, and I didn't enjoy it enough to continue. This is a Peter Pan, not retelling, like Peter Pan inspired, and Peter Pan is in the book. It has an interesting premise, and if you like Peter Pan stories, maybe check it out, but I found it to be a little too slow and character focused, so I don't plan on continuing on in that one. The next one on my list is also a duology, and that is Ivory and Bone by Julie Eshbaugh. This was also an art copy that I received, I think at Y'all West last year. I really did not enjoy the story. I had a really hard time finishing it. For me, it was mostly the writing style that I had a really hard time with. This book is written in second person, so it uses the word you a lot. What really drew me to the story was the setting. It's set in sort of like a prehistorical setting, which is pretty unique. There's not a lot of that out there, and I thought I would really enjoy it, but I think the writing in second person was really hard for me to get used to, and also I didn't enjoy the romance that were going on in the book, and I definitely won't continue on, even though I think it's just a duology. I don't want to read the second book. The second to last series on this list is the Gemma Doyle series by Libba Bray. Apparently, I'm not a Libba Bray girl. Both of the two series that are by her that I've read, I really didn't enjoy. The first book in the Gemma Doyle series is A Great and Terrible Beauty. It's a historical setting with a paranormal twist to it. It's more about like witches and stuff. This girl, Gemma, goes to a boarding school, and it's kind of like discovering her powers. I just found this book so slow. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be too surprised because I also found the Diviners to be pretty slow. They're both pretty chunky books, and they're very character focused, which is just usually not my thing. So I shouldn't be too surprised that I didn't enjoy it. But yeah, I didn't enjoy A Great and Terrible Beauty and will not be continuing on in that series. Okay, so that brings me to my last series that I am DNFing. That is going to be the Lotus War series by Jay Kristoff, the first book being Storm Dancer. I didn't hate Storm Dancer. It was alright. I gave it 3 stars. I had really high hopes for it because there are some bloggers and YouTubers that have really enjoyed it that I mostly trust their opinion, and so I was kind of disappointed with it. I thought the world building was really interesting, but just like the writing style and the characters just really didn't do it for me. Again, it was just one of those books where I really liked the idea of it, but the execution of it didn't work for me, and I didn't enjoy it enough to want to continue on in the series. Okay, so those are 10 series that I have decided to DNF or not continue on with the rest of the series. If you read any of these series, let me know. I've seen more and more videos on BookTube about series that I'm quitting or series that I'm in the middle of. If you're interested in those topics, let me know down in the comments. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more bookish content. I post a bookish video once a week, typically on Wednesdays, sometimes on Thursdays, depending on how my week is going. And that's all I have for now, so until next time, Bookworms, keep reading. Bye! And while I really enjoyed the idea behind series, but another series that I will not be continuing in is the Fallen Kingdom series. I post a bookish video about once a week. Bye.